Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about the first photo or the first photo trip that started it all. I've been shooting photos and videos for a while now, and when it becomes your main job, you can kind of lose sight of what drew you into it in the first place. And so I wanted to step back and kind of dig into some of my early photographs. What was the first photo that I took that I was truly amazed by, where I shot it and I was like, wow, this is something special. And what stuck out to me was this solo trip that I took to Utah. So today's video is kind of stepping away from all the technical talk of photography and going back into more of the passion side of it. So let's get into it. Just to give you a preview, this is the image that stuck out to me. This was in Utah in Needles area of Canyonlands. It was just the most amazing sunset nature experience that I had as an adult, as a young adult back then. But if you want to go straight to that story, check out the timestamps below and you can jump straight ahead. But let's go all the way back to the beginning of this trip. So I was finishing up an internship in Colorado Springs, and I had about a week or so before I had to be in LA. So I decided, instead of flying out, why not just rent a car and spend some time in Moab, Utah? And I remember I somehow found this guy. I can't believe I still remember his name, but Pete Fagerlund. He had these amazing mountain biking videos, and he had this cool Porsche 911 where he had a bike rack and everything, and he'd go out to Utah and just mountain bike. Here, I'll show you. Here's this website, petefagerlund.com. He showed how he recorded his videos, and this was way before GoPros. So he mounted I think it was a Sony camera, and he put counterweights on the other side of the helmet. And then eventually he got like a lipstick camera, I think. You can see here. Oh, it looks like he had a flash too. Yeah, he just had all these cool videos. It looks like they're not even working anymore. Yeah. Let's see, where is there anything? Oh, here's some pictures of his. And I would just watch these videos of him going through Slickrock. And I remember seeing pictures of Porcupine Rim. And it was just absolutely stunning to me. You know, the kind of nature we have around on the East Coast is typically, if you want to go hiking, there's just a bunch of trees. So there's no views really, at least not compared to in the Southwest. So I remember just daydreaming that I would love to go out here. And so when I got that summer internship in Colorado and I had that week afterwards, I decided this is what I'm going to do. And so here is where I did the internship. It was very nice. And then afterwards, I rented the cheapest car that I could, Dodge Neon, and I drove over the pass of Colorado into Utah. Yeah, man, don't ever speed in Utah. It's just bad. And then I went to Moab Cyclery to rent a bike. I went on 3 mountain biking trails. This is at Slickrock. After seeing it on the internet for so long and finally being able to be there, it was such a dream. I guess it's kind of like Times Square. I guess for other people who don't live here, after seeing it on TV and movies all the time, to finally come to Times Square, I'm sure it's something special. For me, it's whatever. I believe the first camera I had was a Canon A60. Canon point-and-shoot cameras were getting somewhat popular back in the early 2000s, I believe. I never wanted a camera per se because I was super shy and I didn't really think I had anything much to say. But at some point I gave in and I bought a Canon A60. However, when I went to Colorado, I couldn't bring my camera. And so I went to the store and I bought a Nikon Nikon Coolpix 3200. Yeah, this thing. 3.2 megapixels. So that's what I had. And when I was driving around by myself, and that's the greatest thing about driving around by yourself, is you can take as much time as you want. Nobody's there waiting on you impatiently, and nobody likes being rushed. So I remember just being fascinated by all the trees that were out there. It was just very cool to me for someone who didn't grow up out in the West. This is on Slickrock, and I would pause here and there, taking some pictures. It is as good as it was hyped to be, so no disappointments there. Here's another panoramic I shot while on top of Slickrock, and you can kind of see Moab, the town, is just below. When you're out there in the Southwest in Utah and stuff, you kind of get a little bit tired of all the sand color, the sandstone color. It's nice to relax your eyes a little bit to see some green. And here's the bike trail. There is a very young picture of me. I still have that helmet, by the way. The next morning I went to Porcupine Rim Generally, my schedule was in the mornings, in the early mornings, I would go mountain bike and then come back for lunch, do sightseeing in the afternoon and evening for the sunset. This was an amazing trail. You basically get shuttled up to the top, and then after that, you ride along the ridge here for, I don't know, quite a while, and then downhill from there. And I did get the worst farmer's tan on this ride. I forgot my sunblock. The day before on Slickrock, it was just all overcast. And then going to Porcupine Rim, it was just no clouds in the sky. So I got the worst tan ever that lasted, I don't know how many years. But I remember seeing these online in Pete's videos and just being absolutely amazed. So this was dream ride number 2. So this is looking over the edge of the cliff. Here it doesn't look too bad, but looking down over this edge, I was basically standing like right here or something and looking down. So you can kind of see how steep it is. And then the third morning, I went to another trail called Klondike Bluffs. Slickrock was just kind of amazing smooth sandstone that you just kind of go up and down. And Porcupine Rim, the views are just stunning, just bring enough water, but it's a pretty chill ride. You ride along flat and then downhill from there. And then Klondike Bluffs is different. It's a good workout. You park at the bottom here and then you pedal uphill for 2-3 hours. I don't know. And then you get to the top, you park your bike, you walk further out, and then you can see this kind of stuff. It's very cool rock formations. And there's another young picture of me. Apparently this was a dinosaur footprint. And this is the kind of terrain, it's smooth rock, it's very grippy. And then downhill, I didn't stop and it was just straight 30 minutes of downhill without pedaling. So that was a lot of fun. I'm pointing down, this is where I parked. I think that's my car right there. And then if you see from the car's vantage point, you mountain bike up this way and then you just walk out to here, to this point. I believe I'm pointing from here and I'm pointing down to the car. I highly recommend those 3 trails if you're going to mountain bike in Moab. Slickrock, Porcupine Rim, Klondike. It's a good variety of trails to go on. So like I said, in the mornings I would go mountain biking and then come back into town for lunch and then go out in the afternoon, evening for the sunsets. I had this Rand McNally map book. It was quite big. This was before Google Maps and all of that. So I would just open that up and then just kind of find whatever obscure small little road. And so I was driving around and I saw these beautiful canyons, and again, I was obsessed with these trees. These trees were just amazing. To see trees grow out of these rocks, it was quite the sight. Here I remember these canyons were huge, but I also remember looking very small. I just thought that was fascinating. If you look close enough, it's almost like a scaled version. Just something that drew my eye, how big things were represented in small things, and it was kind of a metaphor for each other. This was, again, before any proper photo training or anything, so this was just kind of, I guess, the innocent days of photographing stuff where you just go to what interests you and you just capture away without any regard to artistic or technical qualities. So here's that famous bridge. Of course, my camera wasn't wide enough, so I couldn't even capture the entire thing. Here's another panoramic. Again, beautiful. You can see the highlights are blown out. Here I was, well, I guess I was trying to do something artsy. Cool thing that I noticed here was there's this distinct line where this is kind of, I guess, ground level. And then these canyons go down, but then above that in the distance, you see mountains that go up. So I thought that was a cool distinction. Here's another tree that the green stuck out, and then my feet, just to show the scale of... I started doing this feet thing in my pictures just to show that I stepped in this land here. I guess it's kind of a version of trying to be cool and show off where I've been. I don't know, what blogging platforms were around in 2004? I don't remember. But these pictures were kind of for me, really. It was just kind of documenting my own stuff. I didn't really shoot to show off to other people. It was really for me. Wow. This is 2004, 16 years ago. Wow. I look very young. There's the Dodge Neon that I rented. So like I was saying earlier, I was trying to look for sunset spots because that's kind of what you do when you go out there. So I drove way out on this kind of gravel road for 45 minutes, and I got to this endpoint where it's just at the end it's paved. So I finally get to this spot and I get there a little bit late. The image is terrible, but the sunset itself was quite beautiful. I was by myself. It was nobody else around. And the clouds, oh man, clouds make such a difference in sunsets. So then this was kind of the hero shot of that sunset. And it was just, again, stunningly gorgeous. I had such an amazing experience. I decided to go back the next day. It was just overcast all around and I was wondering if there was going to be any sunset at all. And so I'm sitting there just kind of waiting and I was kind of like, okay, there's just too much clouds. There's too many clouds. I don't think it's going to be that as good as yesterday. As the sun started to go further down into the horizon, I noticed in the distance, there was just this slight opening where the sun was allowed to kind of peek through and illuminate. And so I'm waiting there and then to the right of me, the sun is over here to the left. To the right of me, I noticed you can see how the rainstorms are just kind of its own thing and contained. The sun was still above this blanket of clouds and it's just starting to peek below. But before that, it was just kind of the same color, so I didn't really notice it right away. But as the sun started going lower, it started to turn color. When it got full blast onto the rain, I mean, it just turned on fire. This moment here was quite a defining moment for me, photographically speaking, and just like experientially. I was alone, there was nobody else. It was super quiet, but my ears were just ringing with how beautiful this nature scene was. My heart was just beating out of my chest. I've never seen the sky light on fire like that. It was probably the first moment where I took a picture and I was like, I can't wait to see this on a computer. Have you ever had those moments, those special photos that you take and you're like, oh, this is one of those keepers. Yeah, so this was the first trip that did it for me. So after that, I went to Zion and Bryce, and you can kind of see these Zion pictures. I went up Angel's Landing after that. I went through the Narrows. I did ask some people to take a picture for me. Here's Bryce Canyon. Now this whole area, I did go on a road trip when I was about 10 with my family. And we drove through here, but I was too young to fully enjoy it. We were driving cross country and we were just kind of doing these quick, get out of the car, take a picture, get back in the car because we got to keep going. When we got to Bryce, I asked my dad if we can go on an actual little short hike. And so I remember we did walk down into Bryce Canyon. And that was quite a lot of fun. Here I remember how bright the stone was in stark contrast to how blue and dark the sky was. And this was bright daylight, just looking up and you can kind of see the moon. And also going back by myself, it was like a childhood dream that I was able to realize where I remembered going on the short hike, but as an adult, going back and enjoying it for yourself. Because you know that a lot of times when I think back on memories, I'm like, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that? And you kind of wish you had another chance to go back and do things differently. So this was kind of one of those trips where I was able to go back and fully enjoy it and explore on my own time. So yeah, this trip to Utah was kind of the first trip that really kicked off my passion for photography. My dad always had a camera, but I never really messed with it growing up. So I like to say I kind of got into photography a little bit later in my life. But yeah, this trip, this is where I started to discover my passion for photography. It's nice to take a little trip down memory lane. But I wanted to ask you, what is the first photo that you took that, you snap and you're like, oh, this is something special? What is that photo? I know once you get into it too much, you can easily get lost in the latest camera and lens and whatnot and get lost in all the gear acquisition syndrome. Comment down below. Tell me your story, or better yet, go to my Facebook group. I just created a Facebook group. Check out the link down below for the Facebook group. Join that group. Upload your first photo. Tell me what made it special to you. What kicked it off for you? And it doesn't have to be technically perfect or beautiful or to your style today. But yeah, I would love for this channel to talk about all different aspects of photography, not just gear, but some of the passion stuff. Look forward to seeing your photos. Go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. Till next time. See ya.